Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Jodi Norgaard. She is an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and activist. Uh, and she's the author of More Than a Doll: How Creating a Sports Doll Turned into a Fight to End Gender Stereotypes. She's dedicated to breaking gender stereotypes and advancing equality. Welcome to the show, Jodi.
Oh, thanks for having me, AJ. Happy to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how one can lead with purpose, how they can inspire real change. We'll talk about all this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, Jodi, so that people know who they are listening to.
Okay, so I'm Jodi Norgaard. I started a line of sports dolls about, 17 years ago called the Go-Go Sports Girls. From there, I eventually sold my business. It was quite the journey. I didn't really understand what I was getting into, and that my persistence and determination would really serve me well. I ended up working with the Biden administration in their White House Gender Policy Council. I did a report with the Gina Davis Institute. I worked with the Toy Industry Foundation to create change, to represent children who they are right now instead of pigeonholing them into certain areas. So in a nutshell, that is what I've done. But boy, it was quite the journey. Still is.
Absolutely. So, from a common person's perspective, listeners' perspective, how should they understand what Jodi is doing at the moment? What Jodi is all about? Is she about, about activism? Is she about, breaking gender stereotypes? Help us understand from that perspective. What is the message that you want to, make sure that this is the message that should come across to the world?
Well, I think the message that I would love people to, convey to everybody is that gender issues, gender stereotypes, it doesn't start in our teens or in our 20s. It starts the moment a child can hold a toy, a book, or watch a screen. So just focusing on the root of the problem, when do all these inequalities begin? And actually before the age of 5. By the age of 5, little girls start believing that their gender can't do as much. Their gender isn't smart as the male gender. And this isn't true. And it's really sad that, a little girl's confidence ends up peaking at the age of 9. And then she starts to believe that she needs to look, act, and feel a certain way. So it's not surprising with these confusing and conflicting messages that they receive. AJ, just going back just a little bit, that, I had an aha moment, but there were many situations prior to that I think a lot of people will feel the same about. You see something and you're just like, gosh, that's just so wrong, but you don't know what to do about it. You don't know what you can do personally to change things. So you just push it aside. And I had many of those situations, and it just built up to this one particular moment. And I'm happy to tell you the story, but when I had my aha moment, and it was just when I was just completely done with the inequality. So would you like me to dive into that
please.
story?
Yeah.
Okay. So my daughter was 9 at the time, and she had just gotten done playing soccer. So I tell you this because she looked like a normal kid on a Saturday afternoon, right? She's in her cleats, her shin guards, her hair is like in crazy messy pigtails. When we're running into the toy store to look for a birthday gift that she needed for a party she was attending in like 30 minutes. So it's like one of those panicky parent moments. And so we're running up and down the aisles when a line of dolls just stopped me in my tracks. They had on short skirts, crop top, belly button ring, big hair, lots of makeup. I look at my daughter, I look at these dolls, and I pick up one of the dolls, and the name on the hang tag is Lovely Lola. And AJ ended up buying the doll just because She travels with me now. So this is the doll that really changed everything for me. I just knew at that moment there wasn't one parent that wanted their little girl to look, act, or be called Lovely Lola. And so I started picking up the other dolls in the line, and there was Dazzle and Destiny and Sizzle and Sue and Cute Candy. And I'm like, what in the world are we marketing to girls? So I started to see this discrepancy in the age of kids that were 6, 7, 8, and 9. I started to see products marketed to boys associated with violence and aggression. And products marketed to girls were associated with appearance and attractiveness. Now, I have two boys, obviously older now, but I didn't want them to be, they weren't violent or aggressive, and I didn't want to encourage that. And my daughter was super smart, and I didn't want her to think that all of a sudden she had to focus on her appearance. So I did my research, right? I brought the doll home and I told my husband, I'm like, I think I can create a positive image product that encourages girls to be healthy physically, mentally, and emotionally through sports and physical activity. So I needed to start somewhere, and I needed to research. And I found that, there were baby dolls, there were rag dolls, and then there were 75 lines of fashion dolls. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm filling a void here, because there are a lot, 17 million girls in the US alone play one sport a year. That's just in the US. So I'm like, okay, girls play sports. And why are we pigeonholing girls into, following the 75 lines of fashion dolls and don't offer them anything else? So that's basically how, my journey started. But it took 2 years from rough draft to the actual debut of the first doll. And I have to tell you that I knew nothing about the toy industry. I knew nothing about retail, designing, manufacturing, Zippo. I had to figure it all out.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jodi. So is this story your story, or is it about uh, looking at the girls breaking stereotypes and leading the life of their dreams, whatever they want to do? How should one understand this?
Well, I, I wanted to do better for girls. I wanted to do better for women. And I just wanted to give them a choice, right? Because I realized very soon after getting into the toy industry that I wasn't in the toy business. I was in the social change business, because my first sale was at the United States Tennis Association, to the United States Tennis Association at the US Open. So that's in starts in August in New York. And the US Open, they purchased $500. That was my first sale. So pretty good first sale for a small business. And those $500 sold out in 6 days. And I thought, I've got the next best thing, right? That was a really good test. And then my next goal was to launch the line of 9 dolls at the New York Toy Fair, which is in February, and that was in 2009. So so many of the, industry leaders, industry buyers come to Toy Fair to see from all over the world to see what the next best thing is. And I'm like, it's me. I'm almost cocky. I'm like, wow, I've got the next best thing. Well, not so much. I had so many buyers come to my booth and tell me, I love your product. My daughter plays soccer. She would love Soccer Girl. And I'd say, great. How many would you like to buy? And I'd always get the hand. I'd go, oh, no, 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 no. It'll never sell. Because ultimately, girls like fashion. Can you create a fashion doll? I'm like, that's my point. As a mother of a daughter and as a woman, I'm positive girls like more than fashion. And there's 75 lines of fashion dolls out there. Why would you create another one? That to me, that's insane. Why create a product that would saturate the market? So I hung in there, and I realized right then and there, my first year in business, that mainstream ideas never create change, and I was creating change. So I wasn't going to conform to what the toy buyers wanted, because I knew I was right. I knew girls deserved more. But it took 5 years, 5 long years of a lot of rejection, like 500 no's, and I'm not kidding. I may be low on that. The amount of no's I got was off the charts.
Right, Jodi. So, in terms of support, why do people have hesitancy in supporting such an initiative? Is it that they want this whole idea to become very prominent and then they will feel happy to come forward, or is it that they are a bit afraid of that the society as it is should be, stereotypes are okay, that helps them better? Where is the big problem in terms of equality in the real sense? And one more thing, if I understand, in the US more girls are attending schools than boys. Then where is this whole disparity nowadays? Is it the girls themselves are considering it, or the society is asking them to adhere to a certain image, certain norm? How is it on the ground?
Well, I mean, if I'm understanding you, correctly, I mean, it's a culture, right? And it's hard to change a culture. I mean, I think your question had, a couple levels on there. I mean, a culture is hard to change. And I didn't realize that going into it. I just thought, oh, I I can do this, and it was very naive. But if you don't challenge the status quo, then it will always be that wash, rinse, repeat cycle, right? We'll just keep going. We'll just keep going on that same. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes, it's okay. If it's working, that's good. But, when we tell women, for instance, there are many things that come at boys and girls that tell them who they are and who they should be. And I'm just going to give you an example of some T-shirts that were marketed to boys and girls at a very young age, about 10 years ago. But the T-shirts marketed to boys were training to be Batman or training to be a superhero, and to girls it was training to be Batman's wife and I need a superhero, right? So much different message, right? It's telling the boys, you're the lead character, you're the main character. To girls, you're in the supporting role. And to sum this all up, Warren Buffett said one of my favorite quotes of all time. He said, "Look at what our country has accomplished using half its talent, and imagine what we could accomplish if we pull women off the sidelines." So I wholeheartedly agree with that, because if we were to view the world equally through the eyes of men and women, we would have greater balance. And that balance is off. And it's not taking away any piece of the pie from, men or boys or, other people. It's just asking for the simple human right of equality. So I am just taking on one small part. I mean, there are obviously so many different avenues that need to change. For instance, the World Economic Forum has predicted that we will achieve equality, at least in the United States, and actually worldwide, in 136 years. That's not acceptable. It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that difficult. So again, excuse me, I'm looking at I'm asking people to look at the root of the problem. Look at the media your children are absorbing. Look at the toys. Look at the clothing. I mean, social media is a whole other beast, because parents don't have as much control over that with their children and their devices. But that's a whole nother topic. So.
Right, Jodi. So what is the one big thing that that the society or a country as a whole can do, so that we don't have to wait for 130 years? You have been a part of this whole White House Gender Policy Council, so you know about these things very well. You are close to all these things. What is it that the administration was trying to do? What is the big thing that could change these things and make it, say, perhaps 10 years, 20 years? That is acceptable, isn't it?
Right. There are many ways. And just to be clear, I worked with the Biden administration. I do not work with the Trump administration at all. But it was with the Biden administration and their Gender Policy Council. What people can do early on, like I get this question quite often, AJ, is, what can we do to help? People are saying, I need somebody to tell me what to do. Well, it starts with you, right? Nobody's going to come and rescue us. Nobody is going to just say, let's go in this direction. Uh, we have to look at the products that are marketed to kids. Um, if you do not, as a consumer, we have a lot of power. And if there is something you do not like, do not bring it into your home. Do not buy it. To send these manufacturers, these retailers, these companies a message. Don't spend your dollars there. Also, with children, point out stereotypes. If there's something that isn't sitting well with you, explain it to them why it's not equal, or why, for instance, a good friend of mine, her son came home from preschool, and he said, Mom, I cried today. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Why did you cry? And he said, well, it made me really sad because my teacher told me boys don't cry. Right. So we need to embrace this emotion. Boys cry. I mean, that's so silly that we, tell boys they can't cry, and we tell girls, you're being too emotional, or you're being, it's not good to be aggressive. And little boys, maybe they're more empathetic, but we don't nurture that. So it's just recognizing the strengths in these children and not pigeonholing them into certain avenues. So yes, definitely don't buy the product. Call out stereotypes when you see them. Men need to be involved too. This isn't a woman's issue, right? This is a societal issue. This is a world issue. Studies have shown when women are at the table, whether it is socially, business, politically, family lives, the outcome is more profitable, prosperous, and peaceful for all. So it's having equal people at the table with not just a homogenous table, right? It's a table that has different views, different experiences, different thoughts. So it's recognizing that if you're in business, having a diverse group. I have not seen a study yet that says a diverse group is terrible for business, or a diverse group is terrible for anything. It's so much better for creativity and innovation.
Right, Jodi. And one more question, and then I'll come to your book. One is that times have changed. A lot of things need to be achieved. We need to have gender equality. But why does it come out as boys versus girl, men versus women? Not why not men and women, boys and girls? Why is it almost
Mhm.
like versus? It looks like one is growing at the cost of other. Help us understand this whole irony, and how can one correct it? Do you think there is a hope of correction with so much of politics nowadays going on around almost every aspect of our lives?
Okay, let's answer the first question first, because you know what we do. We at a very young age, again, if you look at packaging, if you of toys, if you look at advertisements of toys, if you actually look at toys in media and books, children's books, we tend to tell children at a very young age how they're different instead of how they are the same. So that is a very, very good question, AJ. Instead of saying how we're similar, we tend to tell children how they're different, how their gender is different. So once we start recognizing this and showing kids, back in the 70s, at least in the United States, we had more of that, and that was the direction that we were going in. But there was some deregulation in advertising, and then we started to see the separation, and that separation has not stopped. We continue to see that separation. So what I would like to see it more of telling children how they are the same, because in my observation of children, they want to know how they're the same, but adults are telling them how they're different. And what was your second question now?
That you talked about 130 years with the present, uh, politics going around with almost everything. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think this will be this achievement of this goal of gender equality will be fast tracked, or it will move beyond 130 years? How does it look like, especially with so much of politics in almost every aspect of our lives today?
No, I don't think it's going to be fast tracked anytime soon, unfortunately. A lot of people have, commented on how exhausted they are. We've definitely gone backwards. I think the United States in particular, we're considered a backsliding democracy, and not just in gender equality, but in so many different ways. It's very disheartening, but we still need to use our voices. We still need to speak up. No, we do not have the comfort to sit back and say, oh, well, this is just the way it is. So I feel very strongly of people using their voice, and getting their stories out there, getting their opinions out there, and standing up for what's right and for equality. So it's hard. I will be honest, AJ. We're in a very weird time, very discerning time for sure.
Be that as it may, let's come to your book that could, ignite a lot of hope. More than a doll: how creating a sports doll turned into a fight to end gender stereotypes. What is in the book? Is it a story of hope? Because you just talked that. So, is it a story of hope? Should people look at it with hope? Help us understand that.
This is the book. It is definitely, I think the hope that I offer in here, and definitely it's my journey of persistence and determination. And that persistence and determination, I know I said that earlier in the show too, but it's been fueled by passion, right? So I think that in my book, I just persevered because I knew something was wrong in our culture. And I knew it was so simple to fix. Like, why is it so hard to put a sports doll out there? Why is it so hard, to put this in your store, and give it a chance? But, you know, again, we have this wash, rinse, repeat cycle, especially in the toy industry. And the toy industry can be very antiquated, right? It just doesn't like to change. This is what has worked. A fashion doll has worked ever since Barbie. So why shouldn't there be 73 fashion dolls? And it's fashion is fine. Fashion is fine, right? Whatever. I'm not saying don't take away any of the fashion dolls. You can keep your fashion dolls. But that just doesn't define a person. That doesn't define a girl. It doesn't define a woman. It doesn't define a boy or a man. So there's so much more to a person than just fashion. So why not offer it? Because I'm betting that it's going to be a huge success. So anyway, yeah. So it is about my entrepreneurial journey. It is a blueprint for change, because a lot of times when a company doesn't have a blueprint, it's a little bit more difficult. So it talks a lot about innovation. It talks about creativity. As an entrepreneur, I strongly recommend having a team, because I know I couldn't do everything at all. I had a great team. I consulted with, oh my gosh, so many different people who could help me make a better doll, help me market better, help me package better, help me publish better, things that I didn't know. And I always say, one of the takeaways from my book is that I listened a lot. I listened a ton, and I asked a lot of questions, just simple questions, like, if you can't help me, do you know somebody else who could lead me in the right direction or have the right answer for me? Just trying to continue to open those doors, instead of, closing. But it is stressful. I'll be honest. It was stressful. But I was encouraged.
Absolutely. So, who is this book for? Is it for girls? It is for boys? Is it for politicians? Is it for industry leaders? Is it for the toy makers? Help
Oh,
us.
you know what, AJ? That is another good question, because my publisher would say, like, when we were getting ready to publish a book, like, who's this book for? I'm like, honestly, I have had reviews from, I speak at colleges, I guess lecture all the time at different universities in their business schools, right? It's a book about business. It's a book about, the gender stereotypes and pointing those out within our culture. So I've had dads come up to me saying, I have read your book and I am giving your book to every father that I know because we need to know what girls are going through, right? And it's not just about girls, it's about boys too and how we pigeonhole them. So it is for educators, it is for, business students, it is for women, girls. I would say girls 16 and up. Yeah, I think it really it hits a lot of different segments depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for, starting a socially responsible company, it will definitely help you. If you're looking, with the gender stereotypes that are out there, that affect girls and boys and shape our cultures, it's definitely for you. So yes, it reaches and touches a lot of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's much to know about all this, and I'm sure a lot of people, Jodi, would want to connect with you, learn more about this, and and also learn about how to get hold of your book and learn from there. What's the best way for them to do so?
Well, you can always follow me on social media. LinkedIn is great. Shoot me a note. You can shoot me a note through my website. Follow me on Substack. I write on there often. I write for Ms. Magazine, so you can follow me there. So yeah. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. You can buy my book on Amazon or bookshop anywhere, bookshop or Barnes and Noble, BAM, wherever you like to shop.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, AJ.